have to ask about the end. You got a fancy letter.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, what does that what does that mean? Are you potentially going to be involved in Batman Part 2? And then the hypothetical for you that you can hopefully answer is just how do you think you and, Catwoman would interact if you were in a scene together?
I mean, it's my wildest hope that I get to revisit her because I've loved this role so immensely. It's like one of my favorite things I've ever gotten to do, and I'm just obsessed with her. And I think if we were united, we would just really tear shit up. I don't know how else to say it. Like,
I mean, that's a great way to put it.
We would just like burn it down. You know what I mean? In a fun way. I think we'd have a lot of fun.
Do you think you'd team up with Batman against Oz, or would you team up with Oz against Batman?
I don't know. I think I would team up with Selina against all of them.
All of them.
Yeah. Like, I think.
Burn it all down, like you said.
And we can take it over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last question for you. So it's I love The Resort.
Oh, thank you.
I watch it and I adored it.
Oh my God, thank you.
And I'm like, there's got to be a season 2, right? I just want to see more of these. So I wanted to ask you, have you heard anything about that? And
we haven't, and I so appreciate that because I loved making that show so much, and it just never totally found like its audience, except for you. And yeah, and actually, I get stopped by about it more frequently now than I ever did when it came out.
Yeah.
And I also think it was such a special show, and we loved each other, that cast. Oh my God. So I would love it, but I haven't heard anything.
I'm going to cross my fingers because I want to see more. But
Yeah.
again, great meeting you.
Thanks so much.
Great job.
Thank you.
The ending has a very clear tease that I have to ask about. Sofia gets the letter from Selina. What I have to ask, first of all, is that a clear tease as to what Matt Reeves might have planned for Part 2? And then what did you want audiences to get from that tease and what that might mean for Sofia's future and whatever it might look like?
I mean, the most important thing to me is to finish off Sofia's emotional journey within our season. And it felt right, the fact that she could never find her footing in this family. This family betrayed her and treated her so disrespectfully. And what they did to her is just so unthinkable that she feels very lost and feels like she doesn't have family. And at the very end, look, she ultimately loses, right? Like, it's Oz's show. He rises to the top at a cost to himself and to many other people. And so it's a sad, tragic ending for Sofia. And yet I wanted her to have a little bit of hope. And to me, Selina offers that sense of hope because they are half sisters. And she's family. She's potential family that Sofia actually still has. She thinks everybody around her that she cared about or hated are dead. And she's wrong. And so that's just an inkling of hope for us to leave Sofia with at the end.
Now, do you think there's a world where you might do a Penguin season 2 or is season 1 kind of, you feel like that's the complete journey and there's not really a need for more?
I mean, we put it all out on the table. I think to do a second season, we have to feel like we can top ourselves. And we have to feel like there's something more there to really dig into. I mean, I really care about all these characters. Even if they're terrible people, I really care about them. And it's been a joy to write them, even though they're twisted and complicated and weird and darkly funny. So look, I think Gotham City, it's just such a fun sandbox to play in. I'd love to keep playing in it, but I think it just has to be the right thing. We should never do anything just to do it.
Yeah. You might have to convince Colin to put all that makeup on so much again.
I know, and it's a taxing thing. It's crazy what he went through. Also, by the way, though, he had the best attitude. I know he publicly is like, "Oh, I was done with it." I'm like, he was a joy, and I mean that so sincerely.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to say that, but it's deeply true. And you could ask anyone on our crew and they would say the same thing. So he's the best.
Always good to know. Well, thank you again.
Thank
great
you so
work.
much.
So things don't work out for you. Was there ever a world where you guys considered keeping your character around? Yeah.
You'd have to ask the question for Lauren. I really have no idea when it comes to that stuff. I think from the beginning that was the plan. Now, was it ever discussed again? I have no idea. But I knew from the beginning that was kind of like what we were aiming for in the end, was that kind of, twist of the knife.
Do you think that completely came as a surprise to him, like completely? Or did he fully trust Oz in that moment, like through and through, and never thought in a million years that he would betray him?
The way I saw it, I think Victor maybe sees some things that Oz does and backstabbing and things like that. He sees it. But I think he goes, I'm different, though.
Yeah.
He wouldn't do that to me. he gets what's going on with me, and he gets what we're trying to do together. And I think it does catch him by surprise. Yeah, I don't think he sees it even for a second.
Well, thank you again, sir, and great work on the show. I'm sorry that you can't do Batman Part 2. I was crossing my fingers.
No worries. It's fun. It's been fun, man. Thanks.
All right, she knows everything, obviously. Do you think that your character could live without Oz still, knowing everything that she knows before the very end of the show? If anything had happened to Oz, would she be okay? Or would she still, is he still such a pillar in her life that she can't imagine life without him, despite how she feels about what happened?
That's such a great question. I think no. I think she couldn't live without him. I think it's such a love-hate. It's so right in the sweet spot in the middle of love and hate. I think she thinks she could live without him. She would like to be able to live without him, but I don't think she can, partly because she loves him so much, but partly because she's so dependent on him, and I think she hates being dependent on anybody. So as much as she needs him is how angry she feels about that.
Yeah.
But also there's, of course, all the stuff that which makes it so complicated, because I think they're in this drama of guilt and forgiveness that carries us all the way through, that you only understand at the end. And I think the fact that she doesn't think he knows, he doesn't think she knows, they're both carrying this thing, but it's still the story of their relationship all the way through, even though they think they've got the other one fooled.
Last question for you. Do you think at the very end of the series, do you think your character is Frances ever going to wake up? And do you think if she did, hypothetically, is that relationship forever destroyed, or are they going to find themselves back? They find their way back to that toxic mother-son relationship.
That delightful toxic mother-son relationship. I'm going to say that she could wake up. I don't know if she would be in a war against him, or if they would find their way back into it. There's a thing that happened on that last day that made my blood run cold, which was I felt Oz not love me anymore. I felt his coldness. And I think that Frances felt it too. And she'd always had so much of his attention and so much of his love. I don't even think she realized how much she had until he withdrew it. And when he withdrew it, it was utter. And the feeling was, even for Dee Dee, slightly terrifying. I was just lying in that bed like, I just felt the love leave the room. It's a real thing and it's gone.
Yeah.
And I think Frances feels it too. So I put her with Sofia. They've got some kind of thing. And we'll see if the men can survive what they would have coming at him.
But obviously, it doesn't work out for you.
No.
It doesn't. Was that always the case, or did you try to convince him to be like, look, what if I'm just like...
You know what? Because like I said earlier with Lauren and what these writers created with this show, I thought it was so well done that when I read his ending, I was like, oh, that's pretty perfect. Yeah. And as much as I want to do 6, 7, and 8, because I am loving these scripts, I gotta go because it's the right time to go.
And he thought he was good. He was like, all right, this is fine. I'll be
save
here.
My ass. Save my ass.
I gotta ask an unrelated question.
How'd that work out?
For you? You were in Transformers: Rise of the Beast, in that fun tease about the G.I. Joe Transformers crossover movie, and that movie has now been confirmed. It is happening. Have you heard anything about when cameras might start rolling for it, and are you getting involved with it? What would you want to do? How is that going to look for you?
I've heard nothing. It was pitched to me as, come do this. Moving forward, we'll do this. I have not heard anything though. So who knows? And that's 100% honest. Nothing as of now.
Well, I look forward to it.
That I am contacted though, because that was fun, man. That was really fun. And again, it's one of these things like this world. It's my youth, man. That's my jam, man. And so if I can go play in a world that connects to Transformers and G.I. Joe, I'll lose my freaking mind.
I mean, you're in a better spot than nearly anybody in that regard. They could get a new lead if they wanted to, but you are the one that started it.
Supposedly, now I could be somebody who works for somebody who works for somebody. Who knows?
That's true.
But he seemed kind of powerful.
You're the new Nick Fury, but for Transformers and Deirdre. All right. Well, thank you again, sir. Great work.
Thank you.